Howdy, howdy, and welcome back to another workshop. This week's edition, we are going through product linking tips between BigQuery and GA4, because BigQuery is definitely going to be a tool I think you're going to need to use. So, if this is your first workshop, welcome. My name is Chris Mercer. Everybody calls me Mercer. I'm one of the instructors here at measurementmarketing.io. And whether you found us through the podcast and talks that we're out there constantly doing, maybe you found some of our training courses on some other platforms, or maybe you've got all of our training courses over at measurementmarketing.io, whether the free membership all the way up through the different paid versions of the Measurement Marketing Academy. However you found us, we are happy that you're here. The Measurement Marketing Academy, just as a reminder, does have a free edition we call the Toolbox. We also have Academy for marketers, Academy for professionals, and Academy for agencies and teams, so that no matter where you are in your measurement journey, we'll be able to help you out. Now, with this workshop, just focus on one thing. There's a lot when it comes to BigQuery, and it can be a confusing tool in and of itself. Now, we're not obviously going to go in BigQuery today, but you do need to know enough to be able to create and link it into GA4 so that it starts collecting data. So when you're ready, you have all that information there and can learn that tool. That's why you do this. This is a preventative thing. It's an insurance policy. It keeps you, solves the data retention issues and everything else that you are about to learn about. So remember, focus on one new thing, one new concept, one new way of doing something, maybe one new way of thinking about something, maybe one new tactic that you get in this workshop. Practice that, rewatch the workshop, and you'll pick up another new one thing. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Product linking tips for BigQuery and GA4. Now we're going to go ahead and dive right in first with the framework. Remember, we're marketing the blind. We're trying to get to a point where we get revenue and profits. How do we do it? Plan, build, and launch. How do we plan? Asking the right questions, gathering the information, making sure we know what actions we're going to take based upon the answers. Today's workshop definitely is around gathering information because BigQuery can be used as a backup for your Google Analytics 4. We obviously want to make sure that the system that we're using to record and store all these behaviors knows the results we're trying to get. Again, BigQuery can help with that. BigQuery can record the traffic. BigQuery can hold everything so you have a natural story that leads to natural action because you're going to plug that into a tool like Looker Studio, which, by the way, gives you much faster reports, which is kind of cool. A little bonus of using BigQuery. So once you've got that, you are listening to the conversation, probably in your Looker Studio side, because BigQuery obviously is not a great reporting platform, but incredible for storage. So you're going to set up your Looker Studio to listen to the conversation that's happening between the users and the website. You measure that against the forecast that you already have, and then you start optimizing because you're going to know where you're missing the mark and where you're hitting the mark. So that'll lead to natural action. And that is how we improve things with measurement. So that's the measurement marketing framework in a nutshell. Now, today's guest instructor is Manisha Mistry. Manisha is an instructor with us, has been for quite a while now. And besides the whole Looker Studio thing, that's kind of where she started. She made incredible dashboards, very useful dashboards. But she's really going down the rabbit hole on BigQuery because we kind of have to now. Measurement is evolving. Remember, measurement is a department. It is not a project. So she's taken it upon herself with our company to be one of the primary leads in getting into the belly of the beast when it comes to BigQuery. And that includes properly setting it up with GA4 because it all starts there. So Manisha is a perfect instructor for this. So without further ado, Manisha, take it away.
BigQuery and GA4. So one of the biggest benefits, I think, is storage. GA4 retains data for a maximum of 14 months. If you are somebody who needs the year-to-year reporting, highly recommend link to BigQuery. Even if you're not going to use it today, just go through this workshop, get linked for you yourself or your client so you have the data. Okay, perform advanced reporting. Even if you're not doing advanced reporting today and you're thinking, you know what, 6 months from now, I really want to get in the advanced reporting world, link your BigQuery today. Joining data. Maybe you're running a bunch of Facebook ads, you're doing GA4, you're joining in the Looker Studio, you may be hitting quota errors, or you're thinking of using a tool like Analytics Canvas, which I spoke about during last week's workshop. Highly recommend link GA4 and BigQuery. Alrighty, before we get started, what do you need? Well, first you need Google Analytics 4 setup. If you have not set up Google Analytics 4, Julie recorded 2 workshops, one with Tag Manager and one without Tag Manager, setting up your GA4. Recommend you watch those. Mercer recorded WinGA4 setup recently. You could also catch that back in the Academy. What else do you need? If you're doing this for yourself, I recommend, you're going to need overall admin access to Google Cloud, which you'll have. If you're doing this for a client or you're in an agency and you're an employee, you'll need BigQuery admin access or basic editor access. And basic editor access. Okay. Now we get to dive into cloud.console.com. Let's go. Hey, before I bring up Google Cloud, I want to show you this really neat resource we have ready for you. It is a linking GA4 BigQuery guide. It's going to walk you through all the steps you need to get started. It is great because we give you everything you need to get started, even adding a billing account, checking and managing billing accounts. We talk about granting user access. We talk about validating and running a query to make sure your data is showing up. So all the different things you need is included in this guide. Highly recommend you grab it. You may need to send it to your client if they need to do some steps in here, but recommend you grab it. It is a guide just for you guys. Okay, so we are going to talk about the first step. We're actually going to talk about it on this guide because we've already created our Google Cloud. But if you're creating a BigQuery project for the first time, and this is the first time that you are coming to Google Cloud, you or your client or whoever's going to set it up, you will get this pop-up, okay? It is Google Cloud's welcome to you. It will include your name here or whoever is logged in. It will pick the country you're in. Make sure you pick the correct country where your business is located, and then recommend if you need to, or your client, or you're going to check this box for your client, highly recommend you let them read these terms, okay? These are Google's terms, the platform terms, so recommend you read them. If you have a legal team, they can read them, do what you do normally with terms, okay? So once you've passed this pop-up, now you're going to come in to BigQuery, and it's going to look like this, okay? Now, if you are an agency or you yourself are running a big company, you may want to set up your organization. We have set up our organization. I'm not going to cover those steps there, but I am going to point you to this checklist. It's Google Cloud Setup Checklist. It will give you all the ins and outs of everything you need to set up to get your organization set up. It's not something we're going to cover, but recommend you come to the checklist if you want to set up your organization. Alrighty, okay. So scrolling through here, we're now first going to create a project. You don't need to set up an organization. So in our case, we have an organization, but you can also set up a project under no organization. For the sake of this demo, I'm going to create it here. So you're going to create new project. So the first thing you want to do is you want to give your project name. I like to give any GA4 project a name, something like mm-io/GA4. And the reason is this part is your company name, okay? And then because I already have that created, I'm going to call this B3, okay? I most likely will have to delete this project after because we already have a separate project for our GA4, but I want to show you guys how to create one. You will have to link a billing account. If you have not set up a billing account, I'm just going to scroll down here. We have a whole section, section 2, adding a new billing account. We walk you through the steps on creating a billing account if you have not set up a billing account, okay? Going back in here. So here, you're going to make sure you link to a billing account. If you have no organization, that's fine, and you're going to hit create. I'm going to give this about 2 to 3 seconds to create. Alrighty, so here we are. What you're going to do now is you're going to click Select Project. So one of the biggest, I guess, tips that truly helped me with Google Cloud and working with Console is know that whatever project you have selected up here, right, is tied to everything that's happening below. So all of these boxes are tied to this project. If I was to switch the project to, say, our current GA4, now everything's tied to this project, right? So you want to make sure as you're working on your projects, you ensure the right project is up in this box. Alrighty, so now that we've made sure about that, the next thing I want to do, I'm actually going to hop to the guide to a second to show you what I'm going to do. Scroll down. So if you had to like I mentioned, if you had to add a billing account, follow the steps in 2. Section 3. One of the biggest reasons you need a billing account with BigQuery, especially with your GA4 projects, is 1, it gets you out of the sandbox, so you can run more queries and all that kind of fun stuff. 2, your data is retained for longer than 60 days. And I'm going to talk about this later in the workshop if you, for any reason, had a GA4 project without a billing account linked. Because if you don't have a billing account, any data that GA4 sends over into this project will not be retained for more than 60 days, okay? So now we're going to walk through these steps. So you're going to go to the hamburger menu, and you're going to select billing. So I'm going to hit the hamburger menu, and I'm going to select billing. Okay, so what you're looking for is something like this that says billing account test project is linked to this project. That is perfect. That tells you, okay, I'm linked. Now, it's a test project billing account. I know that's for us, but most likely you'll have one like, your company name, okay? So then you're going to make sure you see that linked, and then you're going to click on go to linked billing account. Okay, here you are. You are in this billing account now. So then you can go click here. You can click to billing account, and you'll see billing account manage. And this is a great way to TBV, trust but verify, that your project's in here. You really, really want to make sure it's in here because you do not want to start your GA4 project without a billing account because, again, you're going to hit that 60 days and your tables are going to start deleting in BigQuery and you're not even going to know. It's not even going to send you a notification. Alrighty? So that's done. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is set up some alerts. Coming down here, Now we want to set up some budget alerts. Why do we want to do this? Well, you might run some BigQuery queries, right? And you don't want to go spend a couple thousand or a couple hundred without, getting some notification. That is why it's so important to set up a billing account and be able to manage that and get some alerts, okay? So now we're going to dive in here and we're going to go in the side menu. Again, this just kind of hover over here and you're going to come here and you're going to budget alerts. So you're actually going to see we already have an alert set up for a couple alerts set up. So I have this one set up, but I will set up another one. I'm going to go create a budget. And I'm just going to call this, I like to call it max budget, but I already have max budget created. So I'm going to call this maximum budget. Really thought that through, didn't I? Okay. So you want it to be monthly. Make sure, again, TBV, your project's in here. Okay. And you can hit next. Now you want to come to the amount. Like, work with your client and be like, what's that minimum amount that, what, if we hit this amount, it's enough to give us a flag. Mercer's number was 100, so we went with 100. You can go with 150, you can go higher or lower, your choice. Next. Okay. So now this is the part that really, really, really matters, okay? Because this is where you're going to set the threshold. Now, usually it's the person who's the billing admins and the users of this project that are going to get the notification. So you want to make sure if you're monitoring this, you're set up as a user on this project, and I'm going to talk to that a little later. Or if your client gets this, just tell them, keep an eye out for alerts. Okay. So the first one says percentage of budget. So we're saying 50% of the budget, which is $50. I want Google to send us an email when that actually happens. So Mercer and me would get an email, Julie would get an email, and one of us would be like, okay, guys, we hit $50. Okay. Now, when it comes to 90% of the budget, 100% of the budget, I want it to, instead of actual forecast. So if Google thinks this billing account is going to hit $90 or $100, I want it to tell us, okay? I want it to kind of look in that future, I'm forgetting those balls that you look into, right? And be like, hey, I think we're going to hit 90. No, I know this is not a ton of money, but it's still money, right? And I really don't want us to go spend that kind of money. Maybe we slow down the queries, or maybe we think about the queries are going to run a little bit, okay? You want to make sure you get email notifications, and you're going to hit finish. So there you go. We got a maximum budget set up, and you can see here the triggers. You can see the amounts. You can see all that. Now, one thing to note is we didn't have any credits, but if this is the first time you set up your Google Cloud account, you might get lucky and you might get some credits from Google Cloud, which are great to have. Even if you have the credits, set up your billing account. I cannot stress that anymore. Okay, so the next thing we're going to dive in is you want to make sure you or whoever you need has access to this project. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go, again, back here, hamburger menu, and we're going to go IAM. Okay, what you want to do when you show up at this IAM screen, give us a second to load. What you want to do when you show up on this IAM screen is verify that the project you have here is the project you created for GA4. Because if it's a different project, like if it was this project or it was my playground project, then it's this IAM is tied to that because it says it right here, permissions for project this one. If I was to flip it, let's say I switch it to our current one, you will notice that this changes, okay? So I'm gonna go back to the other one just to make sure we're on the right one. Alrighty, okay, here we are. Now, before I dive in to tell you which roles we recommend, there's a couple you can grant right away, but if you really want to learn a lot about the roles in Google Cloud, note that there's like thousands of them, that you want to go look for this document. We'll include the link in the bottom of the workshop, but it will give you through the basic predefined roles in Google Cloud, okay? So now let's head over into IAM and grant some access. Okay, so majority of users, what you're going to do is you're going to click grant access. And you're going to enter the email address for the person you're going to hit. So for this case, I am just going to enter test at test.com. Recommend you have a real email there, but then you're going to want to grant access. So what you want to pick here, majority of us, like let's say your client is sitting down with you and saying, hey, you know what, Manisha, what access do you need? I'm going to take this out of here. I don't want to grant that person access, but here's what you want to do. You want to come in here and grant a couple of different roles. The first one you want to do is you want to type in the word BigQuery, and the first one you've done again is BigQuery admin. And then you're going to want to get a couple. I actually walked them through in the guide here. Let me show you. Scrolling down in the guide. Right around here. So here you go. I'm just going to blow this up a little so you can see. We're going to grant admin, data editor, data viewer, user, and we're also going to grant project billing manager just so you can get those notifications on the billing account. So I'm going to go back there. I'm just going to grant the access. So it's BigQuery. Oops, I didn't spell that properly. Spelling is not something I'm doing well right now. There we go. Okay. We're going to go here. BigQuery data viewer. And hold on. I like to cover the spectrum with Google Cloud. I will warn you that sometimes, like if you don't do all these, you may not have like some particular access, which is really annoying. That's why I kind of cover the spectrum and give all of these. And the last one you want to do in here is project billing. It should come up. No, manager. Okay. And then hit save. I'm not going to hit save because I don't have an email, but recommend you enter. And you can enter multiple emails here. So I could enter, like if you had like you and a teammate, you could enter that and then do another one. Okay. So I'm just going to pull out of here and I'm going to hit cancel, but you would hit OK. Alrighty, so now your project is all set up and done. So now we need to go link our analytics to our BigQuery project. What I really want you to do is if you come in here and you go to here and you go to Cloud Dashboard, you're going to want to note this project name and just copy it because you're going to need that. Okay, so now we're going to head over into analytics. Okay, so here we are in analytics. If you need to get here, this is a test account, but if you need to get here, I'm going to show you how to do that. You're going to go to admin, then you're going to go scroll down on the property, and you're going to go BigQuery links. And here you're going to have it. This test account is not linked to any BigQuery. Our measurementmarketing.io GA4 is already linked to a project, so I'm going to use this test account. So you're going to click on link. And first it's going to ask you to choose a project. Okay, so you should see your project here. If you don't see your project here, pop in the search exactly what you copied. So if you remember you copied your project name here, pop it in there in case you don't see it, it'll show up. Check the box and hit check. Okay, so now data coach. It is important you pick the right location for your data. If you're a European company, you're going to want to think about GDPR. If you're a company in California, again, you're going to want to make sure you go through all that kind of stuff. Highly recommend you speak to the people you speak to regularly about your data. For the cases of this workshop, because it's test account and because I know Mercer and the team have told us the data's in the US, I'm going to stay in the US. Okay, next. Now, here's a really important decision you have to make as a BigQuery user, especially as a GA4 user. So you have two options. You have a full export of the data that takes place once a day, or you have a continuous export within seconds of events arrival. If you do streaming, and we do cover streaming in here, so I'm just going to scroll down and show you that. So I do cover streaming in here, linking screening. If you do link streaming, do note that it could end up costing you a little, but you have those budget alerts set up, so we'll warn you, but it will cost you a little, so you may want to keep an eye on your cost in Google Cloud. So go in there and check out to make sure there's not too much cost. Keep an eye on the billing, that kind of stuff. If you're like, you know what, I need to get started and I need to just get my feet wet, or you know what, I'm just going to collect the data in there for 6 months, then just do daily and then hit next. This is your chance to review everything. So yep, okay, data location is good. I'm going to stick with daily, but you can definitely turn streaming off if you want. I actually started daily for measurementmarketing.io and just recently promoted us to streaming because we need the real-time data in BigQuery so that Fiona and team can look at the data and look at the ad data from it. Okay, so we're hitting submit. Ta-da! You have now linked GA4 to BigQuery. Now, here's the deal. I wish I could tell you, you could dive into Google Cloud right now and you can go look at data in there. Sorry, you're going to have to wait at least 24 hours to get data in there, okay? So now if you are doing this live, I recommend pause here, give it 24 hours, come back in a day, maybe 2 days, and I want you to validate that the data's in there. And I want you to validate your tables that are not expiring. So I'm going to walk you through those steps now. And then, like I said, pause here and then come back in 24 hours, hit play and walk through the steps I'm going to walk you through now. Alrighty, so you've hit 24 hours, you're going to come back into console.cloud.google.com. You're going to make sure, again, double make sure that the right project is selected. I don't have data in this project, so I'm actually going to lean on our actual GA4 project. I'm going to hit the hamburger menu, and what you're going to do is you're going to come down to BigQuery. If it's not linked, you're going to have to scroll down to this lovely list. There's a huge list here, right here, more products. You're going to have to go down this list and find it and then pin it. So find it and pin it. What we've done is we've pinned it. So we see it right here. And you're going to want to go to SQL workspace. Okay. Give this a second to load. And here we are. So what you want to do is you want to expand this little triangle and you will see this, and then you will see your tables. Okay, so if you click on events, this inter-day is your streaming. So if you have streaming on, you'll see this. If you don't have streaming on, don't worry about this, okay? What you want to do first is come in here and validate, okay, so I have data for this date, and each date has its own table. So as you can see, each date has its own table. So yours most likely will only have one day in it because you just linked it, and you will see all the different field names you have, the schema, right? And what you want to do is you want to hit query and in a new tab. So you want to run your first query. So I'm not going to go through the ins and outs in SQL right now. What I really want you to do is just put a star here. Basically, we're saying select everything from this specific table, and you can limit it to 1,000 or even 100 if you just want to run a quick query. This little query won't cost you a lot if you want to calculate. There's a calculator, but if this is like something like 3.58 megs, it shouldn't hit you. You can even limit it to 10 to make it a really small query. We just want to make sure we can run a query and see data, okay? So I'm going to hit run. And what you're looking for is down here. So you're looking to make sure there's data in there. We're not going to go through the ins and outs of the data in this workshop. I will be covering a BigQuery full win later this year, but this will give you all the ins and outs of, okay, do you have the data in there? Now, there's one more thing you need to do, and this is something critical. You're going to come back into events, right, into your table, and you're going to click on details. What you want to look for is this table expiration. See, R says never. You might, if for any reason your billing account didn't link, might have a date that's 60 days out. So this is January 30th, 2023. Take 60 days from that, around the end of March, it might say that date. If it does, Simo Ahava has come to our rescue. Simo Ahava does a fabulous job of walking you through exactly how to update this, but also how to run what we call a data definition language statement. I know that's a big word. You don't need to understand how to run how to do that or what is that, but he walks you through exactly the script to run so that in case, let's say you collected, a day of data or 2 days of data or even 60 days of data, you can quickly go update it. Now, in this case, because you only have one, the great nice thing is you can come in here to edit and you can change this from specific day to none if you only have one table. And then you come in here in this analytics and you go into edit details and you go, this most likely is checked, uncheck it, and then hit save. And that way, if you only had one table in here, all the future ones will be never. And I recommend that you check it over the next couple of days. You want to make sure your tables do not expire in BigQuery. Unless for some reason you need to, right? For some legal reason or data privacy reason, you need your tables to expire. That's fine. That's separate from this discussion. But if you're somebody who is using BigQuery for the storage side of things, highly recommend make sure your tables don't expire. So there you have it. You have officially linked GA4 to BigQuery. You officially know how to grant access. You know how to set up a billing account, and you have a nice guide to walk you through all the steps you need. And like I mentioned, if you do have any concerns about table expiration, Simo got you covered. Even if you've already linked your BigQuery to GA4, I recommend you go check table expiry. And like I said, Simo has you covered with a nice little blog if you need to update that. And if you're back there in the academy, I am back there in Ask Instructor. You have any questions about setting up GA4 with BigQuery or any of the steps we did in Google Cloud, hit me up. Happy to answer them.
Holy cow. Thank you, Manisha. I freaking loved that. That was absolutely awesome. So when you think about it, right, what's the first question we're asking after something like this? What's your one thing? What was the thing that stood out for you? There was a lot for me. One is, especially watching this after we went through this stuff last year when we were setting it up for ourselves, kind of going like, wow, all the stuff that we didn't realize at the time where we splashed around, Manisha just sort of cut through everything and gave you a lot of steps. Things like all the different permissions you got to do to get that set up in Google Cloud, how to navigate through Google Cloud, what some of the stuff means, the different ways the TBV, right? When Manisha was like, hey, let's validate, we got a TBV, we have to trust but verify that it is linked and it's linked properly, and the expiration date and all the other stuff that you just don't know is a thing until it's too late. And then you have to go back and retro and fix it and everything else. So Manisha's cut through all of that. Of course, there's also that BigQuery guide that is already back there as well. Incidentally, if you're interested in more trainings like this and you like it, just hit subscribe on the YouTube channel. We're going to be doing lots of fun stuff over the course of the years as we continue to grow the community here on YouTube. Now, when it comes to the framework, remember, BigQuery itself will help you make sure you got your information, but it's really the databasing. It's getting everything into that database from GA4 through GA4 into BigQuery so that you can use BigQuery as your source for reports, because they're a lot faster with platforms like Looker Studio. And guess what? No API limits that way, no quota limits that GA4 has and everything else that can come into there, because BigQuery, because it's a paid program, and right now I think it costs us like a few cents, most current truth. That's what it currently stands at as of February 2023 when we're broadcasting this. But it's a fairly cheap platform. It costs money, but it's fairly cheap. Again, depending upon your data, but that's why Manisha also showed you how to set budget. So you got lots of fun stuff with that. Just a reminder, the toolbox, you've got workshops back there, all the different tools. One of those tools is this BigQuery guide that Manisha and the team have put together. So make sure that you sign up for at least the free toolbox membership to get access to that. If you're already an Academy for Marketers member, Academy for Professionals, or Academy for Agencies and Teams, then you will already have access to that. It's back there sitting in your members toolbox. So with that, just a final request to take a look at the Academy. If now's the time, at least for a free account, to get access to that stuff. Not to mention the other tools. We don't just give you access to the one tool, it's all the tools that we have back there. So you'll see traffic tracking toolkits, you'll see dashboard toolkits, all sorts of stuff to help you in your measurement journey. Just go to measure.tips/Get Academy to learn more about the options currently available to you at whatever level of the Academy membership makes the most sense for you at this point in time. And with that, we'll go ahead and bring this one to a close. This has been Product Linking Tips for BigQuery and GA4. Thanks again for watching this workshop, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care.